Start. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Altcoin Connoisseur and we are back for episode 2. We are going to get some rather serious analysis, more so starting with a little bit of humor and then diving into a little bit of history to gain a better understanding of what we're going through today. So before we get to the humor, before we get to a concept that I will call extreme consolidative volatility, which I think will put into perspective well what we are witnessing today within the altcoin space, I do want to give a quick shout out, and that is to Action TA. He's been a guy that I've been following for quite a long time. I have been following him basically since the beginning. I've been a huge fan of his analysis. It's been very eye-opening to me, and he has been someone who has inspired me to start to post my own content. So please make sure that you give Action TA a like and subscribe. And without further ado, we're going to get to a little bit of comedy, a little bit of serious analysis, and I hope you guys have a good time. I am sweating balls in my apartment, and it's around 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to my friend's bachelor party tomorrow, so we're going to try to hammer this thing out. So here we go. So let me get my movie voice on here. All right, here we go. Are you frustrated with the cryptocurrency market going straight down for 580 days as your low market cap altcoin loses 99.23%, and despite the fact that you're Chad, you're living in your parents' basement, oh my God, do you stare at the news incessantly and you worried about World War III as you think barrels of oil will go to $500 a gallon and gas will go to $50. Oh my God. Do you watch this bald, ugly guy who sits in the upper left-hand corner of your screen who stands that Bitcoin dominance will go to 300% and therefore your altcoins will go to negative affinity? Well, if you think these things, I think you're in the right spot, because while there's not going to be some sort of biblical figure that brings our altcoins to the moon, I do think we can take a rational approach, and I do think that we can lean on some historical precedents to prove that despite how hard things are right now, shit hasn't totally hit the fan. And in fact, I think we're set up for some really good gains. So with the comedy aside, let's get into the concept that I'm going to be introducing today, and that is extreme consolidative volatility, right? So this is kind of an oxymoron, right? So when you think of consolidating, right, when we look it up in the dictionary, we look it up online, right, it's range-bound movement, right? Price oscillates between defined support and resistance, right? It usually implicates low volatility. So like there's not a lot of highs, there's not a lot of lows, and it usually indicates that there's a possible breakout, right? So when I talk about, let's see if I can go backwards here, right? When I talk about extreme consolidative volatility, right, what I'm inferring here is that yes, the possible breakout is here. There's range-bound movement, but because we are trading such extremely volatile assets, the low volatility part is kind of gone out the window, right? But what is not also gone out the window is the duration, right? It can last for days to months. And in this point of time, especially when we've taken a look at others, which I did on the last episode, we can see that this consolidation has lasted for years, right? And while we feel very down, while we feel very out, while we feel like our altcoins are bleeding and going into nothing, we need to understand that we have had multitudes of periods of times where we have been in this consolidation range that feels extremely volatile, but then explodes up to the upside, right? Hence the name extreme consolidative volatility. And we've seen this not only in the others market, which has been indicated here, right? This is just a little graphic that I pulled up. I'm not sure of the year. I pulled up a little screenshot, but you can see over 274 days, we lost 72%. And then shortly after this, right, we exploded over 610 days, 524%. Okay, so was this area where we dropped 72% a consolidation? Well, in most markets, it's not, right? But in crypto, it is. And what I'm going to do is go over a brief history of what I would call, once again, extreme consolidative volatility. And I'm going to bring up with 10 coins in 10 different time frames, okay? So before I get going here, right, let's take a look at our recent consolidative move, right? It doesn't look very consolidative, right? Although if we take a look at others throughout the past 5 years, right, this is just a range, right? In crypto, you'd say this is sideways, even though it feels everything but sideways. As a matter of fact, we have been going minus 60% for 577 days straight down, right? But just because others is this far down in 577 days doesn't mean that we should quit and we should give up and we should assume, like I said, next episode, or last episode, shall I say, that altcoins are going to go to negative 480 billion, right? And not only are we going to lose all our money, but we have to pay the government money for the money that we lost, right? I don't think so. At least not yet, right? So let's look back in history with specific coins where this has happened, right? So let's start off with XRP, okay? This is our number one first case. So I'm going to bring up the chart momentarily, but we can see here from September of 2018 to March of 2020, a time period lasting of 539 days, XRP lost 83%, okay? So let's take a look at this, right? I'm highlighting this here. So let's zoom in on this area. So we can see here, right, from this high wick in September to this low wick in March, right? This is an 83% loss over a period of a year and a half, nearly 2 years, right? So if you're investing in this coin at this time, right, your sentiment right here, it's probably even worse than what we're feeling right now being invested in others, right? This is incredibly painful, right? Many people are not going to survive this drop. Ideally, we DCA down, right? But even if you bought right up here, do we quit? Well, let's find out, right? Let's find out if quitting would have been a good idea, right? So let's zoom into the coming explosion. That sounded very inappropriate, but you know what I mean. Let's zoom into the coming explosion. Jesus Christ, right? So shortly after this consolidation, we have a period where we do a 129% move over 238 days, which is nice, right? But still, it's kind of like, we're barely making back our gains from before. But then after that, the next 140 days, boom, utter explosion, right? 700% to the upside, right? So when you look at this, right, let's say you bought this local top. You thought you were being all clever. You didn't top last the thing, right? And you didn't DCA down and you didn't sell and you were like, oh, XRP's a piece of shit, right? If we were simply patient, right, we got a lot of returns. In fact, I'm wondering what would the returns have been if we went from top to top, right? We still nearly 3x our money, right? Despite not DCAing down, right? So that goes to show as long as you're invested in a not failing asset, a decent asset, right? If you're patient, you're going to make money over time, right? And that's what we need to be doing for the most part in others, as long as we're in decent assets. I'm going to make another episode about decent assets, but I'm going to be covering what I believe to be decent assets in this episode. So let's go to example number 2, Dogecoin. October of 2022 to November of 2024. 343 days, so almost a year, 59% down, followed by a 625% explosion for 425 days, right? So let's take a look. Let me scroll. There's not going to be an episode that I do this where I don't mess up TradingView, I swear. So let's go up here. Let's go to this guy. Let's head back. Let's zoom in, right? Here we go. Okay. Almost a year, 60%, right? You could have been in anything else. Indices, S&P 500, gold. I don't have the particular charts, but like if you're invested in this, right, you could feel like you are a complete fuck up. You could feel like a loser. You could feel like you're a crappy investor, right? But the question is, are you actually? Well, let's go ahead and find out. If you were able to endure this 60% drawdown for nearly a year, right? What were you rewarded with? What were you rewarded with? It's not even going to get to the top. It's not even going to. In fact, I'm just going to zoom out and I'm just going to, sorry. A comment was left that I should swear less, and I'm going to work on that. But you were rewarded with a 625% return, 626% return over 420 days, right? So even if you if you locally top blasted this thing, right, and you were patient and you didn't quit despite the fact that 2/3 of your money was gone, you made how much did you make? Even if you top blasted, right? Even if you didn't DCA well, right? You made a 3x. You sound pretty smart now, right? And ideally, you don't top blast something, right? And I'm going to talk about this in further videos, right? You find assets you believe, you find assets with good charts, you find assets that go up over time on log, you find assets that have good circulating supplies, assets that maybe even fit a narrative, assets that you buy in fear territory, okay? And you DCA down. And you could do substantially better than this. You know, you don't have to find the absolute bottom, but even down here, you know, let's say you found this, you know, maybe you DCA down and you got in over here, okay? It wasn't perfect, right? But what do we got? What do we have here? 443% return. Pretty good. Right? And this is something that we all can do. We don't have to be Ellioticians. We don't have to be geniuses in order to pull this off, right? I want to give 10 examples because I want to drive this point home because I feel like we're pretty broken right now, right? Whereas history is just repeating in many ways, right? So we have one of my favorite coins right now. We have Fetch AI, and we have January 2023 to October 2023, so 252 days. Down 67%, followed by a 1,700% nearly explosion over 160 days. Let's check it out, right? Again, it's very easy for me to just show this and it doesn't mean anything, right? But think about how glued we've been to the screens. Think about how glued we've been to narrative, right? Think about how glued we've been to price action. We need to take a step back from these things, and just because things have been going down for a long time doesn't mean that we should step away from the larger picture, because it's very easy to get caught up in the short term, especially when everything has been down. But history has shown us that everything has been down for long periods of time over and over and over again. And this is the same example, right? 67%, 252 days. That is, think about how many hours, think about how many mornings you wake up, you check the markets, evenings you check the markets, comments you make on YouTube videos, streams you watch, right? All going down. Only to finally be rewarded with a 1,650% return over 161 days, right? If it was this easy, if it was the same amount of time every single time, right? It'd be like they would be handing candy to a baby, right? It would be too easy for us to pull this off. It'd be too easy for us to make money in this market, right? There's too much precedent. So the fact that things are taking longer now, it makes sense, right? The most patient people, the people who pick good projects, the people who DCA down, are the people who are going to win. And history, time and time again, is showing us this, right? So don't get disheartened despite the fact that, oh my God, it's down and people are going to riot and this freaking guy thinks Bitcoin dominance is going to go to 300%, right? History shows us that that doesn't happen, even if it looks ugly right now. And even if last night looked ugly, and even if your altcoin portfolio looks ugly right now, right? It's a small blip, right? Another example, Solana, September 22 to September 2023, nearly a straight year, or actually a straight year, right? Down 55%, 1,048% explosion over the next 189 days. Let's take a look. Again, being involved in this, you pretty much never feel good about this investment. You feel really bad about it, and then mildly good. And then most people, right, they don't have the wherewithal to stay in crypto, which is why most people don't make money in crypto. They quit and they miss this move. Or maybe they don't miss this move, but they buy in here. They keep thinking it's going to go to I wanted the thing. I didn't want that thing. Get out of here. They keep thinking it's going to go forever, well past this high, right? And actually kind of does keep going. But either way, right, they top blast it because retail top blast things, and then they don't make money, right? It takes the conviction. It takes the balls to hang in during these times that suck to make a lot of money in the space, right? And that's what most people don't want to. That's what they don't want to do. They only want to be here when it goes up. If we're not convinced yet, let's keep stacking up the examples. And here's another example. It's stacked XTX. I believe this coin, you buy the coin, you stake the coin, and you get Bitcoin and rewards. Pretty cool concept, right? Let's take a look at April 22nd through March 23rd. Not March 23rd, but March of 23. 546 days, 67%, followed by a 685% explosion, right? Not even our biggest one yet. Let's scroll over. And if I stop talking for a bit, my voice is getting a little tired. But you can see, you don't feel good about this whatsoever, right? Maybe you are at this point actually down. You're down 57% from the local high, right? So you feel like you're maybe being a good investor, okay? But wait a minute. You're actually still, oh my goodness, you are 86% from the low, right? Imagine being here, right? And you don't DCA down and you capitulate and you sell, right? You miss this entire move right here. Again, even if you didn't nail the bottom, heck, even if you had a pretty bad position, I talked about last episode, like, okay, I'm 50% down on my total altcoins right now, right? I must be a bad investor. Well, this person, right, he would have been 86% down, right? Let's just see if they didn't DCA, how they would do if they sold near the top. 159%. Are they a good investor now? Yeah, right? But what made the difference in them being a good investor is not necessarily their entry, even though if we have convection, not convection like a convection oven, but conviction in a coin, right? We know not to just YOLO at some point, right? We DCA down. But even without a perfect entry, guys, right? We still make a significant amount of money even if we don't get that perfect entry. And this isn't like hopium, copium. This is history repeated, and I'm repeating it 10 times to drive home this point. Here we go again. Render, one of my favorite coins. I think Render is going to do freaking fantastic things, right? May of 2022, January to 2023, 238 days, down 70% with a 2,874% explosion over 450 days. That's incredible. Let's check this out. So I actually don't have this one plotted out right here, but let me go back to my presentation real quick, right? So May of 2022, January to 2023. Okay, so let's find May, right? So probably somewhere around here, right? So let's go here. We'll go like this, right? Info line. I like the info line. I don't see a lot of people using it, but I like the info line, right? May of 2022, January 2023. Aha. 75% down. Oh, sorry. I'll do a Canadian, sorry. 75%-ish down. Whatever, right? Close enough. If you got annoyed with this, right? If you go, oh my gosh, I'm a shit investor. I'm not good at this. I quit, right? You miss over the next coming year or year and a half. You miss fucking this. You miss that, right? A 2,681% move over a year. Okay. And let's fast forward to the future. Tell me what here is preventing this from happening again, right? Oh, what? ETFs. Oh, what? Altcoins are dead. Why? Because internet guy says that they're dead, right? Oh, everyone is too poor. Well, they're gambling on prediction markets, true, but remember the price drives a narrative, right? So once this thing gets crawling up here, what is retail going to do? Or the most of the sheep are going to do, right? They're going to leave their poly markets. They're going to leave their Kalshis and stuff like that, right? And they're going to top blast this thing. And where are they going to top blast this thing? Let's draw some fibs, right? So, let's go local high, local low, right? And I'm going to do an episode where I do a bunch of fib retracements on coins in the past and see where they can go in the future, right? But let's pick a relatively conservative target here, okay? So let's go for this guy. 1.618. Very conservative. 21 bucks. 10x ish, right? A little bit more. I think actually somewhere in the realm of here, right? Better, right? 50 bucks, maybe even here, right? As a matter of fact, let's look at CoinMarketCap real quick. And one of the things that I've been learning is that, and I know I'm going off on a tangent, but bear with me. Because of the volatility of these coins, when you're picking a good coin, right, you can't, and you want a coin that is up and to the right, just because of volatility of crypto, you can't really look on linear. Okay, you have to look on log, right? So let's go back to linear real quick, right? On linear, does this look up and to the right? Not really. Doesn't really look super good, right? Looks like it's dying, but you go on log, wait a minute. Pretty good, right? Up and to the right. Consider all the confluences that we talked about last time. The liquidity with Bitcoin being eaten up at the bottom around that 61K. I talked about that double bottom. Think about M2 money supply, that downturn, and now it's heating up again. Think about copper versus gold. Think about ISM heating up. Think about risk assets heating up. Think about altcoin performance starting to dominate Bitcoin, right? Altcoin season indicator going up despite Bitcoin going down. And Bitcoin has been going sideways and is at a major multi-year support, okay? Just even eyeballing it, where do you think this could go? Here? I don't think that's enough, right? I like here. Just even eyeballing it. 50 bucks, 49 bucks, maybe a little bit more, 60 bucks, right? Let's go back to our fib. Oh, hey, look, right? Even just eyeballing it. Does that mean that's going to happen? No, it doesn't, right? But it's a distinct possibility. High action. Let's go do a few more. Akash. I like this one. Despite the kind of Indian sounding name, I won't get into that, right? But despite that, I do like the coin. Nothing against the Indians. I like them very much. Okay, so let's get to a cash, right? So March 22nd and May 23rd, 406 days, 83% down, followed by a 2,973% explosion in about a year, right? So, a very volatile coin, right? My goodness gracious. Let's not do that. Let's go back here, right? You're getting a pretty good deal here, right? Again, you don't know the future, so you're trying to buy coins on the cheap, right? So you take this and you're like, oh, hey, I'm getting a pretty good deal. 76% down from the all-time high. And as a matter of fact, with many of the coins that I've purchased this cycle, that's kind of been the same thing. But what do you know? It goes down more. In fact, it goes down 83% from there. I'm wondering how far it actually went down from this all-time high. 95%. 96%. Pretty brutal, right? Now, again, if you were to top blast this thing, which we hopefully are intelligent investors, we're not top blasting things, and God forbid if we do, we're DCAing down, right? But nonetheless, right? Even here, okay? We scroll over. We actually still, because we picked a decent asset with some strength, some narrative, without a big circulating supply that's just waiting to get inflated on and going to VCs, right? We still made out even or maybe in profit, right? And this 83% dip or this 95% from the top, it followed up with a 2,973% explosion. This actually made me think of a coin that I'm pretty hopeless on right now, and I'm going to bring it up real quick. So let's go to TradingView. I know I'm going off on a side tangent again, but it's worth it. TradingView. And I was talking about last episode some of these 2021 coins, right? And I'm going to bring up Uniswap. All right, here we go. All right. Uniswap. Launch chart. Let's go to the monthly. Let's shrink it down a bit. And we can go this way, right? Oh my gosh. So it's not even on the screen yet. Hold on, we got to bring it down. Bringing it down. Boom. Beautiful. There we go, right? So if we were to go from top to bottom, $94.23%, right? Down. That's not good. We don't like that, right? Me personally, at this point, I wouldn't invest a lot in this, but needless to say, could it go up, right? Well, let's go back to a cash. Let's go back to it, right? Over 602 days, 95% down. Look what happened. Nearly a 3,000% move back up to the upside, breaking or even equaling its prior all-time high, right? So would it be ridiculous if you had some Uniswap, if you had a move that simply mirrored this? Is that ridiculous? Back to all-time highs, maybe even passing it. Not ridiculous at all, right? That's crypto. Am I saying to buy Uniswap? Personally, it doesn't fall into my criteria of good altcoins that I'm going to put up my next episode, but it's certainly cheap, right? And if it does do this, I mean, you can certainly make a freaking killing, right? But needless to say, like, patience, right? Pick good projects. DCA down, have patience, okay? Huge one right here, Zcash. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this, right? December 24 to August 25, right? 57% in 259 days, followed by a 2,613% gain. And you can pick these type of scenarios out with many different coins. I don't want you to think I'm just cherry picking here. This is very common. Okay, look, here we go again, right? And why do I keep covering these? I know I'm talking ad nauseum here. It's to get us out of this funk that we believe that altcoins are dead, that they're not coming back. That's bullshit, right? We see it time and time again. 57%, 259 days. Every single day, looking at Instagram, looking at, I don't know if Instagram was, actually, yeah, Instagram was out, never mind, right? Looking at YouTube, looking at why crypto is dead, why altcoins will never come back, right? And you start to feel like you're going to capitulate. And then you get, bam, this move, right? Zcash is a notable one, is one of the few ones this cycle. More are to come. And if you don't think so, you're betting vehemently against history. Right? Couple more, then I'm going to close this thing out, right? Fartcoin. This is Action TA's favorite coin, and it's growing on me too. I bought a little bit of Fartcoin. It's not doing well as of late, but then again, not much are besides the AI coin. So if you believe in Fartcoin, go for it, right? This is an example of something that's very extreme. And very volatile, right? Even more so than most altcoins, okay? 42 days, down 91.27%, and then a 674% gain back in, holy crap, the same amount of time, right? 42 days. I didn't even realize that at the time. Let's go to Fartcoin, right? Holy shnikes. That's not even from the top wick. It could have been more, right? But 91%, and then bam, back up, right? Did it reach this previous all-time high? No, it didn't, right? But it did significantly well, right? And even though one of my criteria for good altcoins, which again, I'll talk about in a later video, is it being around for at least 2 years because it's less likely to be a rug. This one fulfills, it does really well when altcoins have done well. So, right, December 24, 25, it does well when altcoins do well. It struggles a bit when they don't. It does well when they do. And then it struggles when they haven't, right? And this has been the longest time period that we've had in a while, right? And I think Fartcoin illustrates this pretty well. 308 days since when? August, right? So what's kind of funny is that August was the last time that personally I was in profit, right? So that was our last kind of, not even a mini altcoin season, just a little altcoin blip, right? And then since then, pure pain, close to a year, right? Fartcoin exemplifies that. Now, if you like volatility, and if you think, like, generally speaking, altcoins are going to do well, right, at a little over 12 cents, you're getting a pretty phenomenal deal, right? Imagine if altcoins really pop off. And I talk about, or I haven't talked yet, but I've talked a little bit about how specific narratives can do well. Personally, I think AI narratives are going to do well, but I think memes are going to be there too. And what could Fartcoin do? Right? We've seen memes take get out of here, you other bad fib, bad. Look at what Shiba Inu did, right? Look at what, okay, no more fibs. Look at what Doge did, right? 12 cents. $8, $10, $12. Again, no guarantee, right? But massive potential returns if we have alt season come back, right? What type of gain would that look like percentage wise? Let's just go, let's go conservative. Let's go to the 2.618. Let's just see it. Okay, close enough. We'll overshoot it. What is that? What is that gains wise? No, it's gonna block me off. Can I slide this over? Sorry, I'm still learning a little bit. Okay, 1900%, right? Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Last one, probably our best example so far. Ethereum, okay? August of 2018, March of 2020, 578 days, 79%. Why is this significant? This is longer, and this is a worse correction than what we have been experiencing in others, and then a 7,000% gain in 639 days. And it's right here. All right. So you have to be able to weather the extreme consolidative volatility, right? And we're getting tested in our ability to handle this volatility very much so in the cycle, right? And we've talked about over and over again, things are the worst before they get better, right? So we're having the biggest test in what I think is right at the end, right? Because again, one more time, look at Bitcoin. Liquidity cleared out. Okay, ready to go up. Might not right away, but it's ready to go up. It's going to break this. There's too much money up here. They're not, the lizard people are not going to leave this alone. Okay? We have to be ready to experience success. It's just going to feel weird after failing for so long. Okay? So, key points to take away. Number one, sideways price action in crypto is long. It's painful, and significant volatility is to be expected. Okay? Doesn't feel good, but it's going to be there. Dollar cost average during periods of high fear and uncertainty. Do we have high fear and uncertainty right now? Sure. Right? Never mind the news. Never mind the YouTube videos that are out right now, right? Sure we do. High fear and uncertainty. Absolutely we do. Okay? My information on what I think is a good coin is coming up next, although I gave some of my thoughts regarding that, right? Don't slop a ton of money at once because you think it is a bottom. It might not be. Let me bring up render real quick to prove this point, right? So I'm going to trash all this. I'm going to bring this up. So do you guys remember the April capitulation, right? Where is it? Here we go, right? The tariff trauma, right? I thought that this was it. And at this time, I thought that crypto was just going to do that, right? I thought this was a bottom. I put a lot of money in here, right? I did not see this coming, okay? As much as you want to be greedy and you want to try to find an absolute bottom, it's not worth it, right? So we have to DCA in. During these very high fear periods, we can put a little bit more in, right? But I had no idea that this was coming, right? Could this be next? Sure, right? But it might be this next. And I have to be ready for that too, okay? Don't become hooked on mainstream media narratives. They want to take your money. The news is not your friend. The lizard people run the news, okay? Scale out of the market during periods of euphoria. Side note, sometimes going up can feel as mentally taxing as going down. And then finally, don't be a tape slave, right? We know that we have plenty of time, right? We don't have to stare at the screen this whole time. This whole time. This whole time. In fact, that can get us stuck this whole time, right? And that can get us hooked on these narratives that stray us from our main mission, right? Because our main mission is to make some fucking money, right? I'm sorry I swore again for my subscriber who was hoping that I wouldn't swear. I am working on that. Okay. After you understand fundamental principles, some of the macro stuff I talked about, some of the simple things that I'm talking about here, money will come to you in the greatest abundance when you need it the least. When you focus on your life, when you focus on making things around you robust and fulfilling and meaningful, right? the attention goes a little bit away from crypto. And then finally, when that happens, when you feel like you don't need this money, as weird and as woo-woo as it sounds, right, it almost kind of ends up being the case. I remember there's times where I wasn't as invested in the crypto market as I am now, and the markets are pumping, right? Now all of a sudden I feel very invested. I'm making videos about it. I've put way too much money into it, right? Now I'm begging for it to go up. I don't want to use the word begging. I mean, I know it's going to go up, right? I should say I'm very impatient for it to go up, right? But case in point, make your life about other things. I need to work on that too. You'll see your money going up over time, okay? All right, my head hurts, my voice hurts. That's it. Have a great night. I'm going to go enjoy a long weekend. It's my friend's bachelor party. We're going to play some golf, drink a bunch of things and stuff, and have a good weekend. So I hope you do too. Check out me, Altcoin Connoisseur. That is me deadlifting. What a strong lad. There we go, right? Follow me for fun things on the market, specifically altcoins. And then follow Action TA too. That's it for me. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.